gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Live from Saturn. Today we are going to be going over a book called The Alloy of Law. My name is Frank Perrine.
Cody Decker.
Duncan Gale. Yes, so that's right. We are going over The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. And, a little bit of background about Brandon Sanderson. So, probably one of the higher profile guys in the sci-fi fantasy world today. You may know him as the guy that finished Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, but he's also been very prolific on his own. He currently teaches creative writing as well at Brigham Young University and lives in Utah. And so, Utah, Brigham Young University, you can put two and two together. Yes, Brandon Sanderson is a Presbyterian. No, just kidding. Yeah, he's a Mormon. Yes, and before we get into The Alloy of Law, which is an interesting title, kind of reminds me of the Rural Juror.
Yeah.
The Alloy of Law.
It looks fine until you try to say it out loud.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an awkward title, but that's okay. But, one thing that I think will be relevant here, and this sort of harkens back to when we talked about the laws of robotics, is Brandon Sanderson has his own laws of magic that he uses in his writing. And so these laws are, first off, an author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. Okay? Rule number 2, weaknesses, limits, and costs are more interesting than powers. And rule 3, the author should expand on what is already a part of the magic system before something entirely new is added, as this may otherwise entirely change how the magic system fits into the fictional world. And as with the laws of robotics, there's also a zeroth law, which is always err on the side of what's awesome. Mm-hmm. So, there you go.
Yeah, and I thought this would be cool, because as far as I know, you have not read a Sanderson story.
Have not, no.
You've read The Way of Kings, which is basically his big Grand Avengers storyline.
Which is awesome.
And then Mistborn, which is one of his first forays into like the dark fantasy world, which you did not like.
No.
And I did not like, but not as much as you.
Yeah.
And I'm completely caught up on all of his like big series. I haven't read the side stuff. And the thing he's like, also those lectures he teaches, he puts them on YouTube.
Yeah,
so if you're ever interested on what he teaches, they're right there.
That's cool.
But he has what's referred to by his fans as the Sanderson Avalanche, which is basically you spend the whole book learning just to appreciate the big climax at the end of like all the magic systems sort of coming together.
Oh wow!
Now, Frank, I was sort of betting on you liking this.
You know, I didn't.
What?
I like the premise of it.
Oh man!
What's crazy about it is you have one book that has just probably really made an impact in my life. That's how good that book is, right? And then I listened to the other one. Nah, way out of base. And this one's kind of the same thing. It was almost like he was constantly setting up his magic world, right? But then it just got old because it was every time they were doing it. It's like, imagine watching a movie and every time he's going to do a superpower, he goes, "Oh, I'm about to lock in." Every time. And you're like, we already get you're locking in. Well, I don't need you to tell me. And I mean, even all the way through the end, you know, it's like, well, I use my this. Dude, we've heard it through the whole book.
Interesting.
And that's what was getting old to me. Whereas like, I know what you're doing.
Okay.
You know, and that was the hard part for me because it was almost like as a reader, I don't get it. So I got to constantly either tell you or I got to tell me as a writer just to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a bit reminiscent of like when you read certain like X-Men comics.
Exactly.
And like there's so many different characters. Like every time a character uses their mutant power, they have to like explain how the mutant power works.
Maybe that's why. Because I'm an old comic book reader, why I didn't like it.
Right.
Because I'm like, okay, you know, you have people run around, shink, you know, Wolverine. Come on, we get it already. We get why you're going to do it. I think that's what was bugging me the most. It took away from the story, and I was expecting more of a more of like the first chapter. I mean, straight out like kind of Western, and then you end up in the city, and you end up, really no much different than the others. And then you have the ability to move metal and do different things like that. But it's like, it's just like crazy. In some aspects he can, in other aspects, he's bouncing off a nail, and you're like, okay, why didn't you use that before? And he's so descriptive where sometimes he'll do that. Well, you can't do that because there's X, Y, and Z, and if you do that, and then it's like it was very repetitive when in what's the other one we like?
Way of Kings.
Way of Kings. I mean, that's a flawless book.
This is because Way of Kings is when people do have powers, it's like one or two, and they're pretty simple, and they don't require much more explanation once they're set up.
Yeah,
it is like a baseline, like you're a better human being, and then you'll get like one of like four different powers depending on the kind of person you are. In this one, there are 3 separate magic systems that each have about 10 different subtypes to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Duncan, what were your thoughts on your first? Because I'm going to say this is one of my favorite books.
Okay,
and I love it.
Oh wow.
I also love his magic system. So I think that.
Do you love the magic system better?
Then what?
I mean, is that what really draws you to the book?
Yeah, well, that's why when they're explaining the magic system, I think that's cool.
No, and I got you. That's what I
like-
mean. I mean, is that part of your deep liking for the book?
Yes, I like that it's a magic system with rules that make sense, and it's a fun, simple adventure.
Okay.
That's where I love the Wayne character and his ability. I think that's so fun.
Yeah.
Duncan, what were your thoughts on it?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, overall, yeah, I did like the story and the characters of this. In terms of the magic system, yeah, it was sort of a new thing for me because, I mean, hey, listen, guys, I'm definitely a nerd, but I'm like a superhero comic book nerd. I am not a role-playing game nerd, and so like when it comes to like all these powers and stuff, I mean I do have to say, when I first started reading this and and they started explaining like, oh yeah, the pushing and the allomancy and and there's this and this, and I was like, I'm not sure how much patience I'm gonna have with this shit. But to the credit of Brandon Sanderson, I mean I did eventually kind of get into it. I was like, okay, well, I might not totally understand all of the ins and outs of this, but I can sort of appreciate generally what's going on. And I do agree that Wayne's power, with the like speed bubble and stuff, that was a cool power that was introduced.
And it's often used to give him like very like a cartoon visual effect. The way his powers work is he can regenerate and freeze time in a little bubble around him.
Yes.
So his way of fighting is jumping at a guy, fighting, and then just he can regenerate, so it doesn't matter that he's not good at fighting. And then that guy will be down. So the way it looks to outsiders is basically like a Looney Tunes.
Right.
He jumps at a guy, it's a blur, and one guy's on the ground. And then like as the show, like there's a scene in like the second book where he's like, there's a bunch of like pits in the ground, and he freezes time, jumps over into the pit next to him. And then people they're like trying to, it's like a very Scooby-Doo type thing.
Now I got to tell you, there were parts of it that I liked. I liked that character. That character was great. The main character was great. The girl character was great. I liked the characters and stuff. Even the guy that was all gold, right? That couldn't die. I like that. I like the whole Western feel of that. Yep. For me, the biggest thing was just the just repetitive. I mean, by the end of the book, I don't need to know that he's pushing on something. I don't need to know that he has to activate, Wonder Twin powers.
Right.
That's what was bugging me.
Now that you said it, because in the Way of Kings, it's a simple. They absorb this like energy, and they can store it, and it drains. It's a straight mana meter.
Yeah.
And so, what they're doing.
Right.
But in this one, also, you might be interested in this, there is a trilogy that is a prequel to this that takes place 500 years ago. And where everything in this is basically a reference to something that happened in that trilogy.
Yeah, no, I definitely got the sense that there was this was like just one sort of window into a much larger world, and there were a lot of things that I probably wasn't aware of. So I read this as like a physical book, and I don't know how they would do this as an audiobook, but this actually has in the back of the book, it has like descriptions of all of the different metals and like their different powers and so forth, and so I mean it's
that would have been handy.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think in some of them they do have that, and it's very uncomfortable in an audiobook because they are just listing allomancy. Blah, blah, like, what's happening?
Right.
I don't know what the context is for that. In The Way of Kings, someone draws like diagrams with like numbers on them, and so in the audiobook they just list numbers for a solid 2 minutes.
Wow.
So which
rough. Yeah.
freaked me out for a bit because I thought I was being activated by the government. It was just, and I may have been on something, and I was just like, for 2 minutes, it was a guy going like this: 2, 4, 5, 9, 7.
Oh
6.
my goodness!
I was like,
right.
I'm not being, I'm not going crazy. I know I'm not.
But you get it's tough in a book, but in this, it's kind of like I said, it's the Superman kryptonite problem that you have. You know, you create Superman, most powerful thing in the world. Then all of a sudden you realize he's too powerful. I mean, he could wipe out everybody. So we're going to make this rare mineral kryptonite that is super hard to get, but everyone's going to have it. I kind of got the same feel of that. It's like, okay, it took you how long to realize that if everyone in the world, because it sounds like everybody has the ability in this book, let's just make them aluminum guns. Why did it take so long to do that?
Yeah, so in all of Sanderson's work, aluminum is like the anti whatever magic system. Aluminum isn't affected by it.
Right. I mean that was another interesting thing about this particular world. It's like aluminum is like the most valuable metal in this world. In our world, it's like.
Well, maybe our world would be more magical if there wasn't so much dang aluminum everywhere.
That's true.
Wow.
Touche.
You ever think about that? You son of a...
I'm thinking about it now.
As you drink out of your aluminum water container.
That's right.
The magic system in the original trilogy was there were Mistborn who could control they could do every power. And then throughout the years, now people are starting to get like, oh, you get like one. And now it's like way more common. And then like the main characters get like one of each type because they have 2 separate magic systems that they use. I'm now seeing how this is probably rough if you're not into this.
Yeah.
There is a third magic system that the villains use that they will not explain until like the end of the 3rd book.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
This series made complete sense to me until I'm like trying to explain. As soon as you have to go like, okay, so
but like Way of Kings is
Way of Kings is
it's just so different because like when he's breathing in these powers, all of a sudden it makes sense with what he's doing, even though it's repetitive. It doesn't sound like it's repetitive.
Okay,
it's like so he breathes in this or he exhales this, and it just doesn't have that same feel as this book did for me.
Right. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, there are so many rules with allomancy and ferochemy, and I know the rules.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, no, I mean, I read that this, I'm not sure if it was just this book or the series as a whole was actually adapted into a role-playing game, which makes perfect sense, and I'm sure that would be, fun for people who are into that. But, reading it as like a narrative story, and it's like always having to get like the rules of things. And
they're twin-born.
It did get a little clunky.
They're twin-born, which is allomancy and ferochemy. Ferochemists come from...
and Bob and Bob McKenzie. He's in there.
Bob McKenzie.
There's ferochemy, Bob McKenzie.
Do you remember them, eh?
Now there's
Bob McKenzie, eh?
There's the forbidden magic.
Oh yeah.
And now there's another magic system that comes up right at the end that you won't know unless you finish the 4th Way of Kings book, in which case then the ending of this makes much more sense than it does on its own.
Okay.
If you're not into this must suck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got slightly into it. I mean, and what's a coin shot?
A coin shot is someone who can push on metal.
Okay.
They can push on metal by digesting and burning steel.
Okay.
When they digest it, then they can push on any metal but they have to consume steel in order to do it.
Okay, and so the main character of this Wax is a coin shot.
Wax is a coin shot and a ferrochemist, who can store his weight in iron, not steel. Otherwise, he'd be able to dual burn like the villain can with gold.
Gotcha.
That's called compounding.
Okay, you're way too into this, dude. You're even turning me down. Yeah, I'm even shutting down, dude. I'm sitting there going, okay, he knows way too much.
Right.
This is one of
That's why this book's so good to him.
Yeah.
That's why he loved it. Every time he hears, he pushes on a nail. He pushed on the nail. He pushed on the nail.
Now, mass distribution matters a lot to steel pushers and iron pullers.
Yeah.
Now, because he can manipulate his mass, that gives him a different advantage, because every magic system, if you combine them, that essentially creates another separate sub-magic system.
Right.
All right, we're gonna stop talking about magic. Spoilers, we're going to go full into spoilers.
Sure.
I really like the ending of it, and I especially like how the female character, how her like power comes in, because it originally looks like the most useless power.
Oh yes, it did. Yeah.
Which her power is she can speed up.
She can slow everything down.
She can slow everything down in her bubble. It's the opposite of what Wax can do.
Right.
Which means if she in her bubble, it only helps if you have to wait and you don't want to do anything.
Right.
And what I liked was being like, how is that possibly going to help?
Well, it's a great power if you're married. How awesome is that?
It's like in that Adam Sandler movie, Click, where he fast forwards through their fight and stuff.
Now,
like I said, this isn't. It wasn't. I liked this book better than Mistborn. Because it's a Western, I kind of like that aspect of it. So it wasn't total but horrible. It just got repetitive after a while.
For me, I really liked fun stuff like in the Mistborn original trilogy, they would usually drink like shots of that metal in like a liquid, and now in the Wild West, he's drinking in a shot of whiskey, and I'm like, I'm all about that advancement of the magic system.
Yeah.
And there's a magic system that like doesn't exist anymore, but used to exist in the original trilogy, where you could kind of see into the future, and it's like the person in that prologue, who I thought that was an amazing prologue for a story.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of made this almost like
like you were excited to listen.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
it really did.
That was actually exciting.
Yeah.
No. But it made it like sort of like a classic like cop movie or something, where it's like there's like something that happens to the guy at the beginning that's like this traumatic event, and then at the climactic moment, it's like he's flashing back to that and stuff. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
that was really cool.
How'd you feel now at the ending when Death shows up?
Oh yeah.
Because you met that character. That is a character from the original trilogy who becomes Death.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was cool because, like, whenever I watch a Marvel movie and then there's like the after credit scene where some like new character is introduced, and like I'm always really excited, and like everybody else is like, what the hell is going on?
Yes.
This time I got to be on the opposite side of that. I was like, okay,
yes,
I can tell this is like really important to people who are into this, but I'm just like, okay, who is this?
So are you gonna go into Marvel movies with a different perspective now?
I think so. A more compassionate perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nah, you know what? You're wrong. That's my stance. I'm rating this "you're wrong" out of 10.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy, Death. He's the victim of the third forbidden power that has been lost to time.
Okay.
And that power bonds you to another god. It's a very Marvel scene too, because it is a guy's like, here's a notebook, by the way, with all the information.
Right.
Yeah.
The people who show up at the end with the gold guy, those are from Way of Kings. Because they have these red glowing eyes.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Now I get it.
That is because like when
I was washing dishes by that time.
Yeah. when I first got to there, I was like, I have no idea what this is. But if you finish Way of Kings, there's these people with that. And the thing with Sanderson's work is it's like they're all the same.
Connected.
Some people can jump in between. There's one guy who in this I think just pretended to be a hobo, and there is no way for you to pick up on that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's
That's right.
there's a
Okay.
guy
Okay, yeah.
there's a guy who's like a hobo who flips them like an item, and they're like, well, that's like weird. This is like insanely valuable. He's like, all right, bye. That's like a guy who jumps across all
Yeah.
these universes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
And,
because I
he-
remember that, and I'm like, yeah, what's
In
that? Okay.
in all of it, he's a background character, but in Way of Kings he becomes a main character.
Right.
But he just jumps across universes and picks up every single magic system power, and he doesn't leave until he gets it. And so he has. I mean, I can't wait till you see that character explain every single power he has.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be the size of the Iliad.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
He can. He can do everything. He can, and it's all. And in a way,
And then the second book will start the story.
yeah. All right, Mistborn, not working with Frank. Didn't work with. We'll do Way of Kings next.
Oh, dude, Way of Kings Day. I can't. I mean, that is just insane.
So if you didn't like this, get ready for one that's about 3 times as long.
Okay. Okay.
But I
I'm ready.
promise you,
promise
it is
you.
much better.
Promise
No,
you. It's phenomenal.
I actually did like this mostly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like I feel like these are all practice books.
Yeah.
I swear.
Well, what's funny is Way of Kings was his big. He always wanted to do Way of Kings for decades, and he essentially has said, yeah, he practiced stuff on this other stuff.
Oh, because I mean, I swear, I've listened to it probably 4 times. Just phenomenal. Character development.
Okay.
I mean, from the very beginning, just amazing.
Cool.
And then, like I said, I just haven't latched on to the other. And I think it's
and you also
honestly,
started on his best work.
and that's the thing. And I think I think it's you. Just like I've always said, you have you're vested with something, like you in the magic system. Well, then just in itself, it makes it better for you. Right?
Sure.
So, and I think that's normal, right? Just like if you went to see a Resident Evil movie, then you play Resident Evil. It's going to have somewhat of a thing that you're
more
going
of
to like it.
You have a more connection to it than you
Right.
normally would.
Absolutely.
And if
Yeah.
someone else sees it, they're going to say that movie just sucked cheeks. But
Right.
but you have a feeling. So I think with you, that magic system, it is kind of cool. But for me, it just, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Because I wouldn't say the magic system in Way of Kings is like simpler. It's just it's just told more interestingly.
Yes.
Okay.
And the power, and it's also not as like specific.
Correct.
It is there is energy that certain people can absorb,
Yeah.
and with that they have much like the X-Men, where it's like, oh, by the way, they're all like supermodels, and they can all like
Right.
they're all like stronger than a normal human being, and sometimes they can also like shoot lasers from their eyes. And so it's like like every superpower person, like, well, I generally know what you're all capable of,
Right. Right.
and sometimes they'll surprise you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I didn't dislike it.
No.
You liked it more. This is the journey of Frank's enjoying Sanderson's work.
Yeah. I mean, and I might come back to listen to it, because I mean the whole
I have the graphic audio, and I highly recommend you check the graphic audio.
the whole Western. Now that I would probably, I mean, I don't know, but like I said, for me, I don't know. I think when they do stuff like that, it makes me feel like they think I'm dumb. You know, because I'm like, dude, I'm already halfway through this book. I don't need to, know that the guy, now I'm going to shift my weight. I forgot what the reference, what they always said.
No, you got it right. You're trying to act like you don't remember, but you got it right.
Yeah, but
Right,
it was always like that, and I'm like, dude, you could have just said, and I made myself heavier. I would have been cool with that.
Now, and what I'll say is this story was planned to end after the ballroom fight scene.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, this was supposed to be a short novella he did.
Oh.
This Mistborn was going to be that original trilogy, and then that world in the 80s. And then he was like, I just want to write this little novella about these these guys dealing with like a bunch of train robbers.
Yeah.
And then he wrote the fourth one's coming out in November.
Yeah. Which is similar to our last show. Had to do with the train.
Oh yeah. We try to have themes
Yeah.
on the Owlmancy train.
Yeah.
All aboard.
All aboard.
The night train.
And the Pharaoh Kimmy.
Oh,
Yeah, the feral cat Kemi thing.
Yeah, where the idea of Mistborn is, it's going to follow a world from like a classic medieval setting, all the way up into space travel.
Right.
And this was supposed to be a short little intermission.
Right.
And then it's going to be in the 80s during the Cold War era, and then it's going to be in space. And but the thing is, it's going to follow how these powers evolve throughout mankind.
Oh, wow.
And what you don't know is at the end of the third one of these books, another magic system is introduced.
Oh, boy.
But you're a sucker to magic systems, dude.
I love the thing I love about it too is I love that it makes sense. I love that there are rules, and I love that yes, because he can change his weight, that changes the magic system that I've gotten to know over the course of like 3 other books.
Right.
That has a whole new connotation to it, but no one's like overpowered. And the age of the one guy who's overpowered, it's also mentioned that like if 3 guys gang up on him, and that's how I love a character who like, oh, they're super strong, but if 3 guys got them cornered, they'd lose. And that's how like the villain can like regenerate almost infinitely, but he's not super strong.
Right.
There is a fun scene where he just jumps off like a 2-story building and his legs like crack and then just reform and he keeps walking.
Right.
Yeah, that power always it's always to me kind of, I don't know, cheap. Like with Wolverine.
Healing?
Yeah, it just there's an episode where Hulk rips him in half. Really?
I think it works better for a villain because then it's like, how are they going to overcome them versus like, well, he's going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Deadpool's like even more extreme. Like he could be like decapitated and then just like grow back his body. Yeah.
It just causes a lot of problems. I mean, in a movie aspect, it makes it great, right? But I don't know, man.
Yeah,
to get your body ripped in half.
Yeah.
Really.
And for he also
and
has,
not only that, if your body got ripped in half, looking on the comic side of it, and you grew your bottom half of it, right, then would you lose the adamantium in your bottom half?
And you know what's funny? This author has a blog where he answers questions like this, and the way regeneration works in this universe is it includes your soul. So if someone got cut in half, your soul would just randomly pick a half to like regenerate the other side.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Because everybody has like that aura of a soul around them, and like the way magic works is you need to have bits of your soul out in order for magic to be able to come in. So that's why anyone with these abilities are traumatized. What you find out in the original trilogy is they try to force that to happen by beating children to traumatize them enough for magic to happen.
Oh, wow.
And they mention in this that they like ban that officially, but you know, there's people that are going to say in this world, people know like if you're traumatized, there is a good chance you'll get powers.
Wow. Okay, so there's another connection.
I should have a lot of powers.
To the mutant stuff.
Yeah. The birthday party, 16, puberty, my powers manifested and killed a bunch of people. And that's this is a very X-Men thing, and he I mean, they're all metal-based powers.
Sure.
Magneto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
You guys really don't like magic systems.
I mean,
not as much as you do. I mean, jeez Louise.
I definitely respect them.
Yes.
And I mean, it was. I read his laws of magic because I think it is interesting that this is probably about as good as you could do in terms of making a magic system because I mean you need to have like drawbacks, you need to have limitations to it and everything, and it needs to be something more than just a wizard did it.
Little teaser.
but realistically, the parameters that it sets up, is that more to make you comfortable? Because in the end, magic is magic. It's like a wish. Why would you even need to actually compile it and put it into a jar?
Well, that's a whole discussion about hard magic versus soft magic. Harry Potter, for example, has soft magic.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a classification.
Yeah. So. Soft magic is a wizard can just do it.
Yeah.
And hard magic is a wizard can do this if these conditions are met exactly, and none of their. And I'm a hard magic man. I'm a hard man, and I get that you guys are soft, and that's fine.
Wow.
And I think we're gonna have to go soon. Now.
Okay. Yeah.
The final thoughts. I love this. I really think people should check it out. It is a Western with magic. and I like it more than the OG trilogy. I still like Way of Kings more, but I like the characters in this the most out of any story he's done. Wax and Wane, which by the way, it's a moon-based pun, and there's no moon references at all.
No.
That is the only issue I have.
Sure.
Which their duo is a joke about the moon and doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So with me, it's kind of like the Wild Wild West show, right?
Yeah, similar to that.
Old
Yeah.
show.
Great show. Oh, I was thinking of the movie.
No, it's a TV show.
Yeah.
I like the characters. Didn't like the repetitive of it. And I'm a big Western guy. I'm not a hard magic guy, right? But I wouldn't say not to read it, especially if you're into these books. You're going to be into it just like you are. Mm-hmm. So someone that's into that whole magic system stuff, this would be great for them. Mm-hmm. So I was expecting something totally different.
Yeah, and the way I found out about this author is I Googled who writes the best magic systems, and Sanderson came up. So I went into this with the pursuit of magic systems. Duncan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall this was a good and entertaining story that, just every now and then got really into the weeds with magic stuff. And it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, the story's good. Yeah, I would give this, 7 out of 10 pushed bullets.
Because he shoots we'll fade out. He shoots low caliber bullets, but what he does is he pushes on them so he can get away with carrying lighter bullets while still getting as much penetration power as a normally heavy bullet. And then the thing about aluminum bullets is he can't push on them.
Right.
But that'll come up later in another book, and that's real fun because another bullet, even though he can push on it, there's another guy that can also push on it. So it's like you have to see how he gets out of that situation.